Hello, everyone. Let's go ahead and talk about part 2 of assignment 2. Before you get started, you want to go ahead and clean your surface. So here, for example, I'm just going to brush my table. Now, you've already worked on creating your starburst and your 1-point perspective grid. Perfect. So you definitely want to tape those down. Make sure that they are straight and parallel with your parallel bar, right? Make sure those are straight, good to go. And then I want you to put on a new sheet on top of the grid. I want you to put a new sheet of trace. Remember, I had you cut a few of them, the 12-inch by 18-inch sheets of trace paper, right? So you're going to put one of those down. And what I want you to do is make sure when you're taping it down and it rolls downward, right? It's not going upward, it's going downward. Okay, so make sure you have one of these extra sheets handy. We're going to need a couple of them, but you should have a few from last time. As a reminder, these are our handouts. These are the documents that we're working with for assignment number 2. And I'm just going to grab some highlighters here so I can point out a few things while we're discussing it together. We are doing a 1-point perspective of an interior living space. You have a sofa, coffee table, a rug. You have a table here, bookshelf. There's a painting right here. Along this back wall, you have 2 openings that lead to the back patio. You have some tile and you have some bushes there, some landscaping. All of this information is incredibly important for us to be able to create our 1-point perspective. This is an interior elevation of the back wall, again, with the 2 openings there, the bushes, you see the sofa, the coffee table, you see the bookshelf and that table there. And then there's a beam in that back wall. You can see what the roof line looks like. Here we have some detail on the furnishings that are going to go in there, the sofa, the coffee table. We have some dimensions. These are not to scale, but the dimensions are accurate. And then here we have another interior elevation where we see the bookshelf, we see the table here, and then the painting. The next sheet in your handout is a sample of what this 1-point perspective will look like. Okay, this is what we're working towards. And we're going to start with that back wall and then work our way forward. Okay, again, we're starting with the back wall, working our way forward. And it's really important to note where your picture plane lies. So we have the crosshairs here, the 4 crosshairs, those are the same as your picture plane points. And then you have your the very top for your roof line, and then you have the one at the very bottom over here for your stationary point. And then here we have just some step-by-step instructions for creating your 1-point perspective grid. You've already done this, so you don't have to reference this one anymore. But if you have questions on that, you can take a look at this. So I'm going to put that to the side. And then this one here, it was just for you to practice with, just for you to trace, to get you comfortable with creating bushes and landscape. Because again, you will be creating bushes for this task. And we did a little bit of that last time together. So again, it's just for you to be able to put a sheet of trace on top of and you to trace and practice until you feel comfortable creating bushes. Okay. All right. Let me go ahead and put that aside. All right. So I'm going to use my sheets here, the packet that I created a few years ago for this assignment, so we can review your steps for creating this 1-point perspective. You already got to this point. You have your 12 by 18, so 12 by 18 sheets of trace paper already down. You have your picture plane, and then you have the starburst, and then on top of that you have your grid that you've created. Make sure that on this sheet, so the second sheet that you have, make sure you can see your picture plane. So make sure that the 4 crosshairs there, make sure that they're drafted dark enough, and don't just freehand it. No, I want you to draft them up. Use your parallel bar for the horizontal lines. Use your triangles for your vertical lines, right? Use your triangle for the verticals and draft that up. It has to be accurate, okay? So that you have the crosshairs for those four corners. Make sure for your center of vision, your CV, make sure you also draft that up. No freehanding here. Make sure you draft that up. And then also for the roof, and then also your stationary point, make sure everything's taped down, ready to go. Okay. Once you're at this point, once you have we've darkened all that up, darken up your horizon line, because you're going to need to be able to see that. You're going to put a new sheet of trace on top. Okay. So you already have your grid, great, right? You already have the starburst underneath, you have your grid. Now you're going to put a third sheet. Okay. This is going to be sheet number 3. We're going to work on the back wall. All right. We're going to work on the back wall. So tape that down. Tape that down. I'm removing mine because again, I have mine in kind of a step-by-step progression, but have yours taped down. And this is what I want you to do for that back wall. Let me zoom in here. We need to know how far that back wall is from the picture plane. You'll see that as we're creating this 1-point perspective, we're always referencing back to the picture plane. Okay, so this back wall here in the interior side, we already measured that before. We already looked at that before. It's 4 feet 6 inches. Okay, 4 feet 6 inches. And remember how we talked about whatever is outside of the picture plane is what's closest to us, and then from the picture plane inside, that's in the inside of the picture plane. Okay, that's going to be important here. This wall, right, it's above the picture plane as we see here, so that would be inside the picture plane in the 1-point perspective. Let me show you what I mean. And let me show you why that's important. Those 4 feet 6, you are going to use your picture plane to measure that. Let me go zoom out just a little bit so you can see the whole picture plane. Okay, focus. Oh, sorry, I put my hand in there. There we go. Okay, picture plane, remember where you have these 4 crosshairs? We're going to use the picture plane to measure where those 4 feet 6 inches are in this 1-point perspective. So because it's inside the picture plane, because that back wall, this back wall is above the picture plane here. So inside anything over here is inside the picture plane. We're going to be measuring from the lower right-hand side over here. From that intersection, you are going to measure 4 feet 6 inches. Now, what scale are we working at? We have that noted here, right? We're working at 3/8 of an inch scale, where 3/8 equals a foot. Okay. So let's go ahead and measure that 4 feet 6. And if you're thinking, well, that dimension is going back, why are we measuring it on the side? I'll show you. So we're going from the lower right-hand side. Again, look for your 3/8, and you're going to measure 4.5 feet, and then you're going to put a little tick mark. Now, let me zoom in here. Our grid is a 1 foot by 1 foot grid, right? So we could count 1, 2, 3, 4, but then for the 6 inches, don't guess. In architecture, we don't guess, we draft, right? It has to be accurate as possible. So you're going to align your scale. So there's the 0, right? The 0 is over here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's no tick mark there. Again, don't guess. Move your scale to the highest whole number, which was the 4 feet. And then this is where this side of the scale comes in. Remember, from the 0 to the furthest line, that's 1 foot, which is broken down into 12 inches. So the half of that is 6 inches. The half of that is 3 inches. And then we have 1, 2 little marks there. So each one of these lines is 1 inch at 3/8 of an inch scale. So 6 inches is right here. So go ahead and put a tick mark at the 4 feet 6 inch mark. Okay, put a little tick mark there. Now, don't do this in red, and you don't have to write the dimension. I'm just putting this for you to see. What I do want you to put is a tick mark there at the 4 foot 6 inch mark. Okay, go ahead and measure, add the tick mark. Once you've done that, let me zoom out a little bit. Once you've done that, you're going to pull a line. So you're going to draft a line from that intersection to your center of vision, which is your CV. Okay, you're going to draft up a line from that intersection to your center of vision. It's going to look like this. Again, you don't have to do it in red Sharpie. No, use it, do it in your pencil. Do it in pencil. I'm just doing it here. I have it in Sharpie so you can see it. So again, first you measured from the lower right-hand corner of your picture plane. You measured 4 feet 6 inches. Then from there, you're drafting a line that goes from that intersection to the center of vision, and make sure it goes right through the center. Okay. Now, what's important to note, what we need to pay attention to is where this line intersects our diagonal line that we use for measuring and creating the grid behind us. Where this line intersects that line, that's where we're going to draw a horizontal line, because in a 1-point perspective, that is 4 feet 6 inches away from the picture plane. Okay, so look for the intersection. And remember, this is a 1 foot by 1 foot grid. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 feet. So it's between here. And we see the intersection right there. Now, I have multiple sheets of trace on mine, so it might be a little bit more difficult to see on my sheet. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's 5, but there's 4 between 4 and 5. See here where it intersects that diagonal line. At that point, we're going to use our parallel bar, and you're going to draft a horizontal line right there. Okay. Use your parallel bar. Do not freehand this. Don't freehand anything on here except for the bushes. The bushes is pretty much the only thing that you're going to freehand. So let me see if I can pull this up here. Oh, I have a lot of tape on mine, but let me make sure it's aligned properly. And then between the 4 foot and 5 foot mark where this line's intersecting that diagonal, you're going to draft a horizontal line that's going to be restricted to these diagonals that are defining the floors and the walls. Okay, use your parallel bar. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and bring this down. Okay, so that's going to look like this, right? The intersection. If we start again from the picture plane, the lower right-hand side, we measured 4 feet 6 inches. At 3/8 of an inch equals a foot scale. From there, we drafted a line to our center of vision. Okay. Now where that line intersected the diagonal line, that's where we drew a horizontal line that stopped at the diagonals that define the floor and the walls. Okay. That's where we're at right now. That's where we're at thus far. Now I redrafted that diagonal line so that you can see the intersection a little bit better. If you need to redraft your lines so that you can see them on your third sheet of trace, then you can do that. But for you, it should be on the sheet underneath, so it shouldn't be too much of a deal. Okay. All right. That right there, that is that back wall, the very far end of the back wall. So that's here. Yes, we have 2 openings, and yes, we're going to take that into consideration. Don't get me wrong, but we're just starting off with that back wall, the very bottom of the back wall. So when we're looking at the sample, that would be down here. Okay, that would be down there. Okay, next, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Okay, where this horizontal line intersects the diagonals on the left and right, you're going to go up vertically, similar to how you did with the grid, but where this horizontal line meets the diagonals that are defining the floors and the walls, you're going to go up vertically. And remember, you're using your triangles, right? Put it up against a parallel bar so it's 90 degrees, and then draw your vertical lines. Okay, it's going to look like this. So that's the horizontal line where it intersects the diagonals. You're going to go up vertically until you hit the diagonals that are defining the walls and the ceiling. Okay, so these are the back walls that you see there. That's the back here, back here. Okay, when we look at the sample 1 point, those are these lines back here. Okay, so go ahead and go up vertically until you hit those diagonals. Okay, now we have to do the ceiling. For this, let me go ahead and let me bring this down a little bit so you can see better. Now you should, let's see. So remember that little crosshair we had? You should be able to see that on your second sheet. Again, I've been using multiple sheets, so it's a little harder to see, but I'm going to redraft it right now and you'll see it. For our ceiling here, what I need you to do is you're going to start off by drawing a line that's going from your center of vision to this crosshair that we have at the very top, which is the top of that ceiling. Okay, from here to there. You're going to go ahead and just connect those 2 points with a line. You want to use your triangle for that. Now it's not at a particular angle at this point. Okay, you're just connecting those 2 points right there to there. Okay, so go ahead and do that. Should look like this, because remember, when you have a 1 point perspective, everything's converging to that 1 point. Our center of vision is that 1 point that we keep talking about. Okay. All right. Next, what I'd like you to do is you're going to go ahead and draft up a line that's going to go from that crosshair at the very top to, we're going to go to your picture plane, because this point, the highest point of this living space, is in reference to where it is on the picture plane, right? It's relative to that. So we need to be able to bring that to the back wall. In order to do so, I want you to draft up a line where you're connecting these 2 points. Okay, it's not at any particular angle right now. You're just connecting those 2 points with a line. You can use your triangle for that and just go ahead and connect those 2, right? Make sure you give yourself enough space on your triangle so that your lead goes through the middle. So it looks like this. Okay, just connecting those 2 points. Now, this next step is where, if you have your adjustable triangle, this is where you're going to use it. Okay, if you have your adjustable triangle, this is where you're going to use it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and let me make sure you can see the parallel bar. Let me put it, bring it up a little higher, bring that lower. Okay, so I have my parallel bar here. Let me align it. Let me adjust it. Mine's not taped down to my board right now. There you go. Okay, so I have my parallel bar here. Let me zoom out a little bit. Okay. What I'd like you to do is, with your adjustable triangle, I want you to find that angle. If you've never used an adjustable triangle before, it looks like you're 45, 45, 90, right? So 45 here, 90 degrees here. So it looks like one of those, but it has this little knob, and this little knob you can loosen. So you can either loosen or tighten. So let me loosen it a little bit more. And then you can adjust your angles, right? You can adjust the angles of the triangle. That's why it's called an adjustable triangle. Okay. Now what I want you to do is to place your triangle up on your parallel bar, and I want you to find this angle here. So the way it's sitting right now, well, no, that's not going to work, right? If I put it this way, and if I open it up, I'm looking for the angle. No, not close. So I want to flip it this way. Again, make sure it's sitting on your parallel bar. And then what I'd like you to do is go ahead and open it up and then work to find that angle. Okay, find that angle. Once you have it, once you have that angle there, close that little knob so you can lock it in place. So tighten it. Once you have it nice and tight, you're going to move your triangle over to the right because you want to go to where the wall is here. This leftmost wall that we have on the back end. Look for that intersection where this back wall intersects the diagonal that's defining the wall and the ceiling. And what I'd like you to do is go ahead and draft up that line until it intersects. So go ahead and draft up that line until it intersects this point here, or this line here. Okay. So as a reminder, let me do this over one more time. Let me loosen this a little bit. This is an adjustable triangle, right? It looks like your 45, 45, 90-degree triangle, but it does have a little knob that you can loosen so that you can make an adjustment to it to get different angles. You want to put it up against your parallel bar, and we want to mimic that angle. So like this, that's not going to work. Then if I try it this way and move it, that doesn't work either. So I'm putting it down this way so that I can go ahead and find that angle. And once you've found it, tighten the knob as much as you can. This one still seems a little loose, but tighten it as much as you can. And then when you get to that point, or once you have it snug, I want you to scoot over the adjustable triangle until you find where this back wall, the leftmost back wall, intersects the diagonal that's defining the walls and the ceiling. And then you're going to go ahead and draft that line. Notice how these lines are going to be parallel to one another. Okay, so I want you to do that. I'm going to bring this down. So I want you to go ahead and draft that line. Now, once you've done that, awesome. Now that you have the left-hand side, all you got to do is connect these points for the right-hand side because you've already found that intersection. So you can go ahead and use your triangle, any triangle, and then just connect those 2 points. It's not at any angle in particular. You're just going to go ahead and connect those points. And I'd like you, so let's see. That's this here, right? So we have that line that we just drafted, this one that we connected the 2 points. And what I'd like you to do is go ahead and also connect the points up here at the top. So it looks like this. Okay. Again, this is your picture plane. This is the highest point, the ceiling, the interior space. This is the back wall. Okay. This is the back wall in 1 point perspective, right? And that's the ceiling, the lines are parallel to one another. Notice how it looks like it's going inward, right? Because these are all converging to this one point. Make sure you get to this point here. Again, we're still on your third sheet of trace. I have multiple sheets because I'm showing it as a step-by-step process, but you're doing all of this on one sheet. If you need to retrace your horizon line or any of the lines, the diagonals that are going from your center of vision through your crosshairs for your picture plane, then do so. If you need to redraft up your crosshairs for your ceiling or the stationary point, which is down below in this area, please do so that you can see them. Now that we have the back wall here, it's not plain, right? There's a beam. We know that because if we look at the drawings, we don't see the beam in the plan view, but we do see it in this interior elevation, right? We see the beam here. Here's our elevation marker. It's letting us know 12 feet 6 inches from the finished floor is the bottom of the beam. We know that the width of the beam is a foot, right? So it's centered here where the ceiling is. You have the beam that's a foot wide and then it goes up. Okay. The bottom of the beam to the finished floor is 12 feet 6 inches. All right. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and draft up the beam. We have that information. We know where it needs to go. What I'd like you to do is find your midpoint on your picture plane. As a reminder, this was 14 feet, right? 14 feet wide here. Find your center point. From there, I'd like you to measure up 12 feet 6 inches at 3/8 of an inch scale. Okay, so again, 12 feet 6 inches. This is, see how you have this outline of the interior elevation? That's what we have here. That's what we're starting to look at, right? That's what we're starting to see. But this, when we're looking at the wall, that's the back wall, right? So that's what we have here. So we need the beam to start drafting it from the picture plane. We're going to have it come down to that back wall. But we're starting at the picture plane. All these measurements, everything we're drafting, it first reference the picture plane before you can draft it in perspective. So again, find the midpoint. From the midpoint, which was at 7 feet, because this is 14 feet wide, 7 feet, measure up 12 feet 6 inches, and you're going to draft a horizontal line that's going to be a foot wide. Okay, so from here, use your triangles, right? Use your triangle to make sure when you are measuring, right, that it's straight. And then from your picture plane, move it up so you have the 6 inches, go up 12 feet 6 inches, and then put a little tick mark there from that midpoint, and then draw 1 foot wide horizontal line where from that midpoint you go 6 inches to the left and 6 inches to the right. Okay. Once you have that horizontal line, then you're going to go up vertically. It's going to look like this. All right. Again, midpoint of your picture plane from here, that 7 foot mark, you're going to go measure up 12 feet 6 inches, put a little tick mark there right in the center. So you can see mine there. Measure 6 inches to the left, 6 inches to the right, draft a horizontal line using your parallel bar, and then go up vertically using your triangles. Remember, nothing is free-handed. We're using our tools. Okay. Once you have that, that's really that profile of the beam, which is what we see here. Now we need to project that to the back wall here for a 1-point perspective. To do that, we're going to go ahead and draft a line from this lower right-hand corner, lower left-hand corner, and this upper left-hand corner to the center of vision. So from here down to there, from here to there, and here to there. Why am I not asking you to do a line from the upper, from this upper right-hand corner to your center of vision? Well, the reason being, in this perspective, in the 1-point perspective, you wouldn't see that edge of the beam. That's why I'm not asking you to do that for that upper right-hand corner. But I do want you to do it for the lower right-hand corner, lower left-hand corner, and the upper left-hand corner. You're drafting lines to your center of vision. Okay, go ahead and do that. Go ahead and do that. Once you have those lines that are converging to that 1 point, wherever this diagonal intersects the ceiling on that back wall, you're going to draft up. So using your triangle, make sure you're putting it on your parallel bar. You're going to go down vertically until you hit the second line. Then you're going to go across horizontally. It's going to create an L-like shape. But again, you're drafting. So you're going to draft a vertical line here from this leftmost line down till you hit the second line, and then you're going to come across horizontally using your parallel bar. So it's going to look like this. It looks like an L from this point up here, down vertically till you hit the next line, and then across horizontally. Okay. All right. Next, what I'd like you to do is you're going to clean up these lines. I want you to go ahead and erase what you don't need. So I'd like you to go ahead and erase what you see here as excess, the lines that go beyond the beam to your center of vision. Carefully erase those and erase these here. Be careful with your, if you have your picture plane, if you can see that, be very careful there when you're erasing so that it looks like this. So let me go ahead and place that there. Okay, so you have the back wall, you have the beam, and then you have your picture plane here, and then you can leave these lines for right now. You can leave these if you'd like. On this sheet, I've already removed it, I cleaned it up. So if you would like yours to look like mine, then you can clean those up too. You can erase those lines. We no longer need them moving forward because again, this is what we're working towards. So we don't see those lines anymore here in the final. So you can go ahead and do it now if you'd like, so that your sheet looks like this. You have your picture plane, right? Now you would see your horizon line. It's just I have so many layers of paper. I don't see it here, but you would have your horizon line, your picture plane, your 7 crosshairs. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then the one below 7. You have the back wall and you have your beam. So clean up your sheet. It'll probably be easier for you to make it look like this as we move forward. So as we're creating the openings, it makes sense what I'm sharing with you. All right, let me go ahead and I'm just going to grab a blank sheet of paper because I'm going to need the one I have there right now. Let me grab that plan. Put that one underneath right now. Okay, so once you have your drawing, it's nice and clean. You're at this point here. The only thing I have missing is that horizon line, but you should be able to see yours. We're going to go ahead and work on the openings. If I go ahead and share with you, so we have like these two, like they're portals, right? You can walk through them. They're not doors and it's not glass. So this must be Southern California living, I guess, right? Where it's open, but it must be in a gated community that's really safe for them to have it completely open like this. So we don't see any support, anything for glazing. Maybe there is glass, maybe. We just don't see it here in the plan. And that's what makes me think it's completely open. Again, here we have the openings. There's no frames. There's no other information. So they just look like openings, like portals for you to go through. Because there's thickness to those walls, as we can see here, where the portals are, there is thickness. So as we draft this up, you will get to see that thickness. And we're going to work on that next. We're going to work on the portals. We're going to go ahead and work on the tiles. And then we're going to work on the bushes. Okay. All right. I'm going to go ahead and pause this video to make sure you get to this point just fine. In the next video, we'll go ahead and start working on those portals, those openings. Okay. Thank you.